Hello and welcome to Beecraft Live again. My name's Rodri, as you probably know now, and this is our Christmas special. So we wanted to have an informal get-together and wish everyone who supports Beecraft a very Merry Christmas. So I thought this evening we do something a little different. We'd do a little brainstorming session, probably between myself and Wendy to start with, and then we'll open it out to everyone that's watching. And it's your opportunity really to steer how these hangouts develop into 2019. So if you've got any ideas of what you'd like to see, then please drop us a message, ask us a question, and we'll talk about it now and see where we go into the future. So Wendy, would you like to say a quick hello?
Well, yeah. Hi, everybody, and I hope you're all doing well on your plans and preparations for Christmas. I have to say we have a very quiet one, and our traditional Christmas dinner is a homemade Cornish pasty at the beach. So we're fortunate to have a beach very close by. So if the weather's bad, then we'll just stay at home and go down to the beach, sit in the van, look at everybody else out there walking and getting cold, and those that are mad enough to go surfing. Have our pasty and then return home and have a few tipples and just chill out. If the weather's good, mind, we'll be going off and spending a few days either in Cornwall or maybe in South Wales, Rod. So we may need to call in if the weather changes.
And I'm sure Wendy's got her annual Christmas glass of mead by her side ready.
Well, actually, it's
every Christmas special. So.
It's not mead this time. It's port and lemon, but very nice anyway. You've got to have a Christmas tipple when you're on a Christmas chill out, haven't you?
Well, I was looking back at the previous Christmas special, and your husband pinched some of your mead before the start of that one, if I remember.
Oh, well done, Rod. I don't remember that. So, do you have a Christmas tipple?
I don't. No, I haven't actually. No. That's, yeah, I'm sadly lacking there, but there we go.
After this, you can.
Yeah. So yeah, well deserved then. I think. Well deserved.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, as most of you probably know, there's been some new developments with the Beecraft website. So I thought tonight was a good opportunity to show you the new website, show it off basically. Show you the new Beecraft Live section where you can ask us a question directly. So if this will work, and bear with me a second, I should be able to share my screen and you can see what I can see.
Yep, we can see it.
Is that working, Wendy?
Yes, it is. I can see it.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Still see it? Yeah.
Yep, lovely.
So this is the new Beecraft Live website. So if you go to www.bee-craft.com, it'll take you to our main page. As you can see, it's nice and clear, very self-explanatory. If we go to the home page, you can see the current edition of Beecraft is on the home screen with any sort of news updates that we have ongoing. You can Sorry, Wendy, go on. Yeah.
I was just going to say the Asian Hornet update. That's something that I'm putting together because I do get quite regular emails from Jersey and from members of AHAT, the Asian Hornet Action Team. Oh, hi there. We have Kevin's joined us. So hi, Kevin. So the Asian Hornet update has got it's got links on it. It's also got things that don't actually appear necessarily anywhere else. I mean, there's a little calculation there that they did in Jersey about the number of nests that have been destroyed this year and how many. That's right. If you come a bit further down, it does actually give some calculations there. Actually, I'll have to put my glasses on to see these. Oh, is that bit? That's a bit above that, Rod. Yeah, and it gives there you are, 52 nets would have produced that sort of number of queens based on the lower figure. So it actually gives you an idea of how, if these nests aren't found and dealt with, that in the autumn that the Asian hornet problem the following year can increase exponentially. So that's just, I just thought I'd mention that because, you know, a lot of things in there. The page will look different because I'm trying to work out how to make sure that the most recent information is at the top. So thank you for showing that, Rod. I wanted to mention that it's going to be kept up to date, and I'll be doing it. So you can slap my wrists if it doesn't.
As you can see, there's a lot of work gone into the website now, so it's full of content to keep you up to date. As you can see on the main page now, you can subscribe to the magazine, and you can even subscribe to our Beecraft timely reminders as well by entering your email address. As you know, we're very active on social media as well, so you can follow our tweets on the website, and we've even got a gallery page where you can view some topical images, which I always do like these historical beekeeping photographs.
Yeah.
I think I mentioned a year or two ago, I've seen a photo of an Edwardian beekeeper with a sort of makeshift veil with a pipe coming out of the mouth.
Yes, yeah. That's a traditional one, isn't it? With the
yeah.
with the pipe, and I think my view is that was for two reasons. One, it was to calm the bees prior to smokers, perhaps, and
to calm the beekeeper as well. So.
Exactly, calm the beekeeper. So it kept everybody calm.
And then we've got a beekeeping tab where we can there's advice on starting to keep bees, and then we go on, there's a bit of history about Beecraft. We've got access to the Beecraft shop where there's opportunity to purchase some Beecraft books. So if you're looking for a late Christmas gift, there could be an opportunity. And most importantly, in my opinion, is the Beecraft Live section, where a lot of work has gone into this as well. So you can watch the Hangout live on the website, and on the right-hand side here, you can ask a question by inputting your name, email address, and question, and that'll come directly through to us. There's also the old Hangout archive as well, where you can see the Hangouts going back 3 to 4 years as well. So there's been a lot of development gone into the website, and I think Wendy, you sort of you were involved heavily in the development, weren't you?
Well, no, I can't take any credit for that. I mean, I've had input on a few bits, but you know, Katie, our secretary, has really had a huge amount of involvement, and I've got a comment, and Dave Hall as well, who deals with all our ads, has done all the graphics for it. So it's been a real in-house job, apart from the guy who actually wrote the website, but it has involved, you know, it's been very close liaison. That's his name is James. I can't remember for the life of me his surname. But we'll sorry,
I put you on the spot then.
Oh, you did? yeah. I can't remember James's surname, but he's certainly excellent. And if anybody really is interested in somebody to develop a website for them, then I'd be very happy to put them in touch. They can just email me at marketing@bee-craft.com.
Lovely. Oh, hello, Kevin. I can see you now, so no, I'm not sharing my screen.
Good evening, all. Apologies for being late. Technology issues at my end, I suspect.
Never mind. You're here now. That's the thing.
Thank you. How is everyone?
As I said at the beginning, we're going to have just a wish everyone a Merry Christmas, and it's going to be a brainstorming session. So we want to get some ideas of how we can build Beecraft Live going into the future. So looking back over this year, it's been pretty busy. In March, we started our first hangout was the Arnia remote hive monitoring system. And then we moved on to Spring Builder. We had a hangout on swarming and all things swarming related. We had a hangout on plants for bees, global beekeeping, our Asian Hornet special with our resident Asian Hornet expert who is here tonight. And we've had our 2018 performance and preparing for winter hangout. And then last month was our microscopy hangout with Bob Mora from Beecraft. So as you can see, it's been a very busy year, really. We've covered a range of topics.
I think that's really good, and to be able to go back and see exactly what we've covered. And I know even prior to that, Rod, there's a couple there there's one on small hive beetle with Jamie Ellis, I think it was, from the USA. But there've been some quite good ones, and they've all got titles now. So hopefully that'll encourage people to go back and have a look.
That's it. So it's an opportunity to delve into the archive really and watch the previous hangouts. And yeah, if you've got any ideas for the future, please get in touch with us. Was there any particular one which stood out for you this year, Wendy? Anything which was?
Well, unfortunately, I missed the microscopy one, and I haven't had a chance yet to have a look at that one. I just like the best hangouts are the ones where people actually liaise directly with us by having a chat with us at the time, in the sense of asking us a question. We give an answer, and then they come back, and perhaps it promotes another question from them. So I think those are really nice. Topics wise, I've got to say I've got a thing about the Asian hornet. I suppose because it's new to us, and it's, you know, we hear an awful lot about Varroa and all the other various things. We don't actually hear, we don't normally talk very much about the really nasties. We don't talk about much about American foul brood and EFB, which are horrendous things to have happen to you. And I've had personal experience of EFB, and it destroys your confidence completely. So, you know, I think maybe next year that's something that I think we should go into perhaps in a little more detail, because people don't like to talk about their experiences with EFB or AFB. It's a little bit like not feeling that you should let people know that it's happened to you, but it can happen to you through absolutely no fault of your own. And I think that's something that people need reassurance of. And I think they need reassurance that their bee inspectors are helpful people. They're not coming round to judge. They come round and they are a mine of useful information. And you can, you know, if you have them round to inspect your colonies, I'm sure you know, both of you, that if you have a bee inspector come round to inspect, that the information you can get and the amount you can learn as a new beekeeper is amazing. So, you know, I think, and I don't know why I strayed off onto that, but there you go. You asked me one question and I go off at a tangent. So I'm afraid that's
out this evening. You know, we're just getting some ideas of where we go for the future.
Yeah, and this is my first one, Rod.
Oh. Certainly. How about yourself, Kevin? Any sort of? Obviously, you were a big participant this year. You were involved in quite a number of them. So, anything stand out?
For me, or for us here, that session, the hangout we had around plants and planting and what we can proactively do to look after our bees was hugely useful, because I'm great at manual labour, but I'm not. As soon as we start to see plants with Latin names and things, my brain just shuts down, and my better half tends to look after all of that. But I was very pleased to be involved with and to listen to our planting experts earlier on in the year, because even I could understand it. So if I can understand it and glean some benefit, then I'm sure others did too. And we've already started to think about what it is we're going to do to cover a very, very dry August in particular next year, because we don't want to be in that same situation again, where we've got sizable colonies with nothing to eat.
Yeah, it varied so much over here in the UK. I know, you know, our bees, one of my colonies that I went to is a double brood, and it is so heavy, I can't even heft off the, I can't heft one side.
Right.
Massively heavy. I'm just hoping it's not all ivy, but we've seemed to have done okay, but there are parts of the UK further up in sort of Norfolk, that sort of area, that haven't had a good year at all. In fact, they've been feeding their bees and have had no honey at all. So I don't think anybody quite understands why in such a dry and hot summer here, that some colonies have done so well.
It's microclimate based, isn't it? At the end of the day, because the UK, like France, is a collection of microclimates rather than one weather pattern, and it varies. We had guests here over the summer from Norway, and by July when they were here, they hadn't had any rain for 9 weeks, which for them is unheard of. And one of them was a beekeeper, and he was saying that he's never had to provide liquid feed for his colonies during a summer before. But it was almost adding a double benefit of food and liquid at the same time. But everywhere was parched. Absolutely everywhere was parched. The sun had scorched all of the flowers, all of the plants that they would order, all the crops that they would normally be foraging on.
I'm quite worried, to be honest, going into this spring because, well, until very recently, the bees have been flying quite actively. I placed a nuke in the back garden to keep an eye on them, and I think next week in particular, I'll be going around hefting the hives and checking the weight of the colonies.
It is concerning, isn't it? Because there isn't a lot you can do. I mean, it's fine to be able to water your garden and keep the flowers going in your garden, but at the same time, I don't have bees in my garden. Mine are out on farms, so that's it's quite a worrying time, definitely. So I guess that's something we'll be covering at some stage next year, Rod.
So, well, we've got 2 suggestions so far. We've got brood diseases. I think that's a really interesting topic. And there's a wealth of resources out there, especially in the UK, which we can tap into, and we can get some experts on the panel.
Yes.
Maybe something else in plants for bees as well. It's such a wide-ranging topic, and we only touched upon little elements during that hangout. So perhaps we can go into a little bit more detail.
Yeah, that would be good.
And that ties into our monthly articles as well. So it'd be good to have Bridget back and to explore that topic a little more as well.
Yeah, definitely.
I wonder, there's something we were thinking about, if I might suggest it, just in terms of something to look at. There are so many different types of hive and methodologies of beekeeping that go with those hives. Would it be interesting to have some people who are experienced in those different methods come on and share what it's like? So for example, here we have the Dant hives, and the methodology for that is the same as a national, UK national. But we also have a Warre hive, which is a different approach, very different, in fact, because as Abbe Warre describes it in his original book, it's beekeeping for the bees, not for the beekeeper. So it kind of turns our more commercialized approach on its head. And then you have top bar or long hives, and we are also ourselves buying some Layens hives later on this winter, which are horizontal hives. So it is, again, the philosophy is to look after the bees, but it's imagine top bar hive plus some levels of complication and more integrated pest management, and there's a book that goes with that, as you would imagine. But there are so many different types of cathedral hives, sun hives. I thought it would be nice just to have a conversation around what's available, not just because they look great, but in terms of the different philosophies that underpin them.
I think that'd be really good, actually, and it'll probably be quite contentious. As you know, every beekeeper's got a different opinion, haven't they? And as soon as you mentioned the word top bar hive, then sort of alarm bells went off in my mind. So
totally.
So I thought, oh, that's
Or don't mention poly hives to our editor Claire. It's a verboten.
I swear by poly hives. I think they're fantastic.
Yeah, I do. Which ones have you got, Rod? Have you got 20 or?
Sorry, say that again.
Have you got Swenties?
No, I've got the Paynes Bee Farm ones, and more ones as well, actually.
Yeah.
But I do swear by them. They're fantastic for the spring build-up, and they really suit our climate in South Wales. So
yeah. Agree. Okay. Well, that's not a bad kick-off, is it? What about from your point of view, Rod? What do you think?
Sorry, I'm looking at the question, and when do you distract me?
Right.
We just had a question come in actually from Amanda, which sort of picks up on sort of a link to what Kevin said. She said, Hornets have taken up most of our time this year, and Varroa for once has taken a back seat, which is quite interesting because Varroa has been very much at the forefront as of late. Perhaps we need to keep an eye on the small hive people. And are there any other global beekeepers who can give us advice based on their experience, perhaps from Australia or Italy? So that's interesting because we tried to do something on global beekeeping, and we had John Home from Bees Abroad on a couple of months back, and he covered some of the aspects of African beekeeping. So that relates to, as Kevin said, the log hives which they use in Africa. So it would be interesting, I think, to see the different types of hives, explore that concept, and explore how they vary country to country as well. So perhaps we can look at something like that. What do you think?
Yeah, sounds like a great idea. Yeah, really good. I think that's something as well. It was interesting. I had a call from a friend saying that somebody she knew was taking up beekeeping, lived away from me, not but still in the southwest. And I had a chat with the lady, and she was basically trying to get some colonies now. And I said, you don't want them now. I said, you need to get them in the spring when you know they've gone through the winter and that they're healthy. And I explained that you can get the bee inspector to go and inspect them if you're concerned about it, before you buy. I've forgotten why I started this. I think, it was because I said
too much mead, Wendy. You need to...
it was I had it then, Rodri, and I've forgotten it. It was a different type of hives. I said to her, they were just starting a course, or been doing a course for a few weeks, and I think we're getting ahead of themselves really. And I said there are so many different types of hives. Do look into that. We've decided we're going to have nationals. And I said, well, that's fine. I just think for anybody going into beekeeping, it's absolutely essential to know what sort of types of hives there are, and to get the hive that actually suits what you want to do. If you're doing it for the bees, then you want to look at the most bee friendly, don't you? If you're doing it because, like a bee farmer, you need to make some money from it, then your choice is going to be different. So I think that's an ideal topic. And I do know that we did have a bee farmer who was going to test out lots of different colonies, colonies in lots of different hives in one of his apiaries. And he was going to do that on an ongoing basis for Beecraft as an article. Unfortunately, he hasn't been very well, so that hasn't gone ahead. But I'm hoping that's still on the back burner, and that we will get to that at some stage.
No, that's interesting. And I suppose not just the hive, but the contents of the hives, the frames as well. Something that confused me when I started beekeeping was, the difference between DN4s and SN1s, and there's a lot of jargon and lingo that goes with it. So it could be worth exploring that and explaining, especially for beginner beekeepers, helping them to select the type of hive and what the type of frames that they're going to use.
Yeah,
not just beginners. For some bizarre reason, manufacturers of beekeeping equipment in the UK, it's one thing we remember, gave up using full words and abbreviated everything. Still don't understand why, don't understand what that achieves, but other than to perhaps make people feel a little bit more superior, and that's not as engaging as I think beekeeping should be.
Yeah, I mean, talking about that, actually, we've got a really good glossary on the new website. It doesn't include those different frame types, but actually that might be a good thing to add. It's quite comprehensive. Caroline's actually gone through it, and I went through it the other day, and I found out quite a few things that I actually didn't know. So that was really good, and I was just checking for typos, not to learn anything. But perhaps those frame types, and we could add that in for some clarification for people.
Yeah.
And while we're on, if I might add something, while we're on the subject of equipment, it links into maybe a discussion, certainly with an expert, showing people how to do it around the other hive products that our bees generate. So things. I saw an advert the other day for a Layens hive, so this long hive in Spain, but 26 frames long. The thing's basically a coffin with deep vertical frames in it instead of the horizontal landscape. They're all portrait, and they use it for collecting propolis and royal jelly.
Right.
So they're as a cottage industry. So they've taken it a step further. But we know about honey. Some of us certainly know a little bit about beeswax, but the propolis, the royal jelly, there's all sorts of things that our girls, the bees, produce that maybe we could spend some time chatting with some experts around. Not just in terms of show and tell, but help people understand how they could do it themselves if they wanted to.
Sure, it's almost like this has been set up, because that ties into something else I wanted to talk about. Something I'm very keen on is showing honey. I show a lot of honey at the Royal Welsh Honey Show, and I really enjoy that. So,
and you're very successful, I've got to say. Very.
Well, I try.
You succeed as well.
So if we can talk around the products of the hive and how we can sort of build quality products of the hive, perhaps we can do a hangout then on showing honey.
Yes.
In the UK and even abroad as well, because we've got Beecraft subscribers who are honey judges in America and Britain. So I think that would be really interesting.
Yeah, it would. Absolutely.
I promise not to laugh over arguments around jar sizes.
Yeah, well.
Another one of those contentious ones, I think. Metal lid, plastic lid. Is there bits in my honey, isn't there?
You got it.
Yeah, that's another great one, because I think a lot of people. I remember the first honey show I went to I proudly walked up with my 2 jars of honey, and I saw one of the judges. I didn't realise who he was, and he saw the jars, and I just bought pound jars with little dimples around because I thought, oh, they look really nice. Of course, had no idea that you had to buy a specific jar in which to show your honey, and so my honey wasn't even judged. He did in fact come over and say, it looked lovely, this, and discussed it a little bit, but it wasn't in the show, wasn't in the competition, because it was in the wrong jar. And that is just so sad for anybody that in their first year, because it actually then makes you think, oh, blind, well, what's the point in bothering? So things like that to get people to know that they've got to do it in a certain way would be a great idea for a hangout. Yeah,
it's about inspiring people as well, because as you said, it's quite demoralizing, isn't it? My jars didn't get judged because it's got a plastic lid or something. So and if you're a novice showing honey, you would have no concept of reading the schedule or understanding a schedule. So yeah, I think we can cover that. I would be interested in that one myself. So.
Yes. That's it's probably one for springtime as well, because that's the sort of time that you've got to start putting your honey into jars, isn't it, and leaving them in a warm place and getting the bubbles out, and etc., etc.
And to get a good variety of honey for showing, if you can get a light honey, a medium honey, a dark honey, or even a set honey, you can enter a range of things then as well.
Yeah, and a nice frame. I love the capped frames of honey. I think they're fabulous. But I did find out, and this was only because I was on a Beecraft stand and listening to the judging, to the judge in Somerset actually explained the importance that they actually shine a light through a comb of capped honey to make sure there's no pollen in it. And so that it's capped and it is just pure honey, and how clean the frame has got to be, and where you've got to put the label on the frame. I think you've got to put it on the frame and on the box, haven't you, Rod?
That's it.
Yeah. So things like that, I think if people talk about it, it's much easier than actually trying to decipher a schedule.
And a lot of it is tricks as well. I've been quite lucky that an elderly beekeeper has shown me all the tips and given me all the tips, and once you've got an idea of those, you can take that forward. And yeah, I don't want to give too much away because I'll be giving away my tips
Your
and tricks.
secrets.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Not that it's competitive or anything.
I'm
How
not.
about yourself, Kevin? Do they show much honey in France?
Yeah, actually, yes. Yeah, is the answer, but not that I've seen at the scale that happens, because there are an awful lot more smaller regional events which operate in the UK, which operate the same standards as the larger national ones. And here I know of a good handful of larger regional events, but not as many smaller ones. There are garden shows and open garden schemes where they will have hive products for viewing and for sale, and the odd rosette here and there. But like I said, in the UK, I've seen several arguments break out over judging tables, but not once seen it here.
But I'm going to tell you, actually, I was given our mead, the first year we ever made mead, and we got actually highly commended at the National Honey Show for it, I have to say. But we entered it into one of the more local shows, and the judge only gave us a second. And we said, well, there's nobody who's got a first. Why haven't we got a first? And she said, because your mead's not good enough for a first, but it's good enough for a second. Oh, I was really quite miffed. I'm actually quite good friends with her now, but at the time I thought, oh, well, it was the best that was there. So why didn't we get it?
I think that's the kind of thing Rob's touching on about if we want to inspire the next generation of beekeepers, some of that, if people will forgive me using the expression, Dad's Army view of how we approach this perhaps needs to evolve a touch. The average 25-year-old does not want to hear that even though they're the only entrant in a class, they can only have the third place rosette.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense to how people are thinking these days in the 21st century.
No, that's right. Actually, that leads me on to another thought. Maybe we could do something along the lines of how to become a honey judge. Do you think that might be something that would be of interest? Or how to become a honey judge, mead judge, and actually perhaps how to make different products like mead, and there's another one that's made with fruit, isn't there? Is it Melalix or something?
Metheglin, isn't it? Yeah.
Metheglin, yes, that's right. I knew it began with an M, but the rest of it was unknown.
We've had a question from Amanda actually, and she said, as well as learning how to show honey, let's have a how to make mead live show. So Wendy, there we are. You've just volunteered for that. So.
Well done. I sneaking suspicion. Yeah, we've got two batches of mead on the go at the minute. Both recipes require a minimum of 5 to 7 years for maturation. But one of them was my favourite. It was from a sustainability resource, an online resource, and it was made from America. 5 litres water containers, plastic water containers, your natural organic yeast, ginger, whatever else you want for flavour, and a balloon with a hole pierced in the top as an airlock. There you go. That's as difficult as it needs to be.
Well, funnily enough, Beecraft used to make not make balloons. We used to have Beecraft balloons, and we did actually make a batch of mead in a 5-gallon water container, that over the top. And it's without the hole, I have to say, and without the hole, and of course the expansion just blew the balloon up. But I missed the opportunity of taking a photograph. I just thought that would have been a brilliant photograph for the magazine or the website.
Perfect marketing there, Wendy. So. As you said, I think that would be a really good idea. We covered education a few years ago, didn't we? So we could take that a step further now and go back, revisit the beekeeping exams, the honey judges exams, and explore that a little more. That'd be quite interesting.
Yeah, well, we've still, in the meantime, for anybody interested in the BBKA examination structure, we've got an infographic on our website. I have to say, I don't know how you find it other than by putting infographic in the search bar, and it will bring it up. We've got a fabulous search facility on there now. You can find whatever you want, and you're given a number of different options as to where it might be. Because obviously there are terms that will appear in more than one place. So that's just infographic, and you'll find it. And it is an infographic. It's like a flow chart of the BBKA examinations.
I've just tested that as we were talking, and it works perfectly. So if you search infographic, it'll return it, and it's got BBKA examination structure. So there we are.
Excellent. Excellent.
What are the key articles? What are the super interesting things that you guys know are in the calendar for next year, that without stealing your own thunder, obviously, or letting the cat out of the bag, but that might maybe tie in with a hangout discussion?
We don't know in advance is the answer. Yeah, we don't know. We don't know.
I think this year we were quite lucky with the Asian Hornet Week, which was announced well in advance, and we were able to schedule Asian Hornet Week to correspond with yourself then, Kevin. So yeah, I think it would be good to get a bit more tie-up, wouldn't it, to explore some of the topics within the magazine as well a little more.
Well, I think so. There's some incredibly interesting stuff goes in there, and some of the articles are quite in depth, and some by default, because that's the nature of a finite number of pages, can only just touch on something you think, God, I'd love to know more about that.
Well, that's the time for people to drop us an email and say, because we're always looking for ideas. I know the editors are always keen to hear of anything. I found what I thought was a really good one today, only to find that the editors had already found it, and there's an article in the next issue coming out on this particular chap who's writing a book. But I'm not saying any more on that. But of course, it is our centenary year, so everybody does need to look at their magazine every month when it arrives, because we are lining up, and we've got lined up some fantastic competitions and offers that beekeeping suppliers have set up for us to celebrate our centenary. So we need to be aware of that. And we can have a word with the editors, Rod. I mean, it's not a bad idea. I'm sure we can, even if we were to know what's coming up in we know what the January magazine's got in it.
Yeah.
So our January one could be around one of the topics that's in that, or
I've actually got it here.
Yeah, it's got a new look about it too, don't you think? It's got a new look and feel.
It has, yeah. I noticed that actually. Some of the content has changed slightly, and it is nice. Yeah,
it's very clear.
Like the looking back at Beecraft section, which is quite interesting, which ties into the centenary, doesn't it? So.
Yeah, and I think they've changed the title of. I think it's You Ask Us or something like that. Instead of it being related to the Hangout, it is questions and answer type of thing. So I think they've tried to make it a little more modern, and I think that's succeeded.
Yeah.
But the other thing that we really got to shout about is that we've got new wrappers on our magazines, Kevin, from the January edition. That are fully compostable, absolutely no plastic or polythene or anything like that in it. They can go into our compost bins or recycle with the local authority or whatever. So we're quite proud of that, because we've absorbed the price of that.
Well done.
It's been well received, hasn't it, Wendy? I've noticed on social media. Something the public is very aware of, isn't it? And,
yeah, absolutely. And all credit to those that looked into it, to Claire, our editor, and the printers for working together and finding it. Because I think about 8 months ago, I don't think that there was a way of doing it. I don't think it was available to us. But suddenly it is, and our January edition's gone out in compostable. So that's a huge centenary celebration to start with, I think.
Yeah. Well, I shouldn't tell you this really, but when I unwrapped my magazine, I didn't realize it was compostable, so I put it in the fire. But, so, yeah. So, but I remember for next month.
So, you can do.
Yeah.
I have just put it in my ready to go in my compost bin actually, but yeah, and I mean, there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. It's great, and I think, you know, perhaps that's another topic we can talk about, environmental issues that are affecting honeybees.
I think that would be interesting because there is a lot of public awareness about that at the moment, and beekeeping and the environment goes hand in hand. You know, beekeepers are very aware of the changes in the environment. So yeah, that could be something worth exploring as well.
Yeah. And I think the key is, you know, if anybody is listening or watches this after the event and knows somebody who is in that sort of field, or somebody who, you know, an authority on environmental change and what have you, that they can get in touch with us, and you know, it would give us somebody that we may not know of to take part in another one of these sessions.
I think we're very lucky in that a lot of the editors have a very, you know, very full diary and a very full calendar address book, I should say. So they've got an awareness of a lot of people that are available, but it would be interesting to reach a wider community as well and bring them onto the panel. Yes. I'm sure you're sick of seeing our faces over and over again, and we like to have experts and new people on the panel to bring new thoughts.
Yeah. Trying to think of any other topics that would be good. I mean, obviously, I think probably there will be another Asian Hornet Week in September, and that it would make sense to do another one of those, because I think particularly in Jersey, they are learning as they go along. And as I say, I get updates from them, and we have updates from Kevin as well. So maybe, you know, we will have more information, more informed information, should we say, on the Asian Hornet.
I think that's important to keep up to date on that, isn't it? So it's worth running that event regularly. We're quite lucky, Kevin, we've got you there in France. You're at the front line. You've been with us for the last 2 years, keeping us up to date on your eradication techniques. So,
we'll be trying to be a bit more proactive in 2019 and actually invite beekeepers to spend some time with us from the UK to see what it's like firsthand.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. I mean, that happened in Jersey this year. A lot of UK beekeepers went out, but they had a there was an event, I can't remember what it was, but they had people that they actually had live hornets there. They'd obviously captured some live ones and had them. And apparently there were people there from all over the place, from Europe. It's actually on that Asian Hornet update thing. I think I put it in there. But the people were 6 deep, wanting to know about it, because you know, there comes a time when they may get elsewhere. They may get across the pond to America.
Keep an eye on it. Well, I certainly think we've got enough content for the next 12 months anyway. So it's our time now to sit and digest all this and plan for the next 12 months, really. But,
absolutely.
But before we finish and before we go, Dave Griffin has asked a question, which I'm going to direct to you, Wendy. So he wants some help. So what's a good Christmas present for his bee-obsessed wife?
For his bee-obsessed wife?
You're on the spot now. So.
Yeah, you are. I mean, what would please me?
I always quite like a hive tool, to be honest.
Sorry, what?
You can't go wrong with a hive tool.
No, hive tool. You can actually, you could get a hive tool engraved as well. That's something that would be quite nice if it's for a specific year or something like that. hive, a jacket's always nice. Any extra equipment's always nice, really. A nice new smoker. I think they can get gunged up, can't they? And every once in a while, it's just nice to have something new and shiny. But you could also get and this was going to sound funny, a pack of shower caps, because if you put a shower cap over your bellows when you go into the apiary, your bellows don't get all dirty and sticky. You just make sure that the cap doesn't go under and close the air hole at the bottom. But it just helps, and then you can take it off and throw it away, and your bellows are still clean. So if she's a cleanliness fanatic, that might be a good thing for her, and it would also be a bit of a laugh, wouldn't it? So and you want to have a bit of fun on Christmas morning.
We got gifted some face cream. The brand. No, I won't mention the brand because it's kind of laughable. But it's bee venom face cream, and it's in theory it's supposed to work along, I suppose, the same principles as Botox, which is actually a poison, isn't it? And it basically paralyzes your skin. So bee venom is supposed to just very slightly swell the cells in the skin, in your face, to fill in lines, whatever it is, from the inside out. And the only issue with it is it doesn't smell like bee venom at all. Actually, there's something we can talk about as well. The things they don't teach you in books, what you'll experience in and around hives that you won't find, like the smell of bee venom when you open up a lid and they're particularly irked with something. But I digress. The bee venom face cream doesn't smell to a human at all, other than face cream. However, we know firsthand that the bees sure as hell can smell it. As my better half had it on and went up to inspect the hives with her fencing veil suit on, fortunately, and within 30 to 60 seconds of opening the top of the hive, they just mobbed the veil completely to a point you couldn't actually see out.
Really?
Yeah. Well, they're attracted to it, aren't they?
Yeah. So it's great for taut skin, not so good if you're beekeeping the same afternoon.
Yeah. The one other thing, they could Google BJ Sheriff sells a lot of bee gifts. So they do bits of jewelry, I think, and sort of mugs with bees on, and I think they might possibly do a scarf. I'm not sure. But that's a good company. And of course, these days you can buy bee wrapping paper, which is made from wax. If you Google, I don't know who sells that, but they were at the National Honey Show, I think. But if you Google bee wrapping paper, then you could find that. So a few ideas there for the gentleman who thought very clearly and easily about what he wanted to do for his wife for Christmas.
There we are, Dave. You can consider those ideas now and go shopping. There we are. Well, thank you very much, everyone, for watching and joining us this evening. As I said, we're going to digest all these ideas now, and I'm hoping you will be able to join us on the 23rd of January, when we're hoping to have a session on to vape or not to vape, which is quite poignant at this time of year when everyone's looking to treat with oxalic acid. So from myself and Beecraft, Merry Christmas, and we'll see you in the new year.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
Merry Christmas.
Bye.